All right, it's that time. You are checking out the Challenge All Stars 3, episode number 5, another random recap. That would mean my name is Randomly Ronnie Jr. If you want to go to the website, it's randomlyronniejr.com. And we have as a co host, the best co host, because I know him as
That's
much as you can
right.
know. As my, okay, just step on my intro. He's like, yeah, more accolades, please. My brother is my co host. I've been in radio for nearly 20 years. My brother has been in podcasting for maybe 5 minutes, but we do this show. We recapped All Stars 1, All Stars 2, and now All Stars 3. Richard, how are you doing? And my first question to you is, what would you rate episode number 5, sort of our midway point? 1 to 10. I give it about a 7.5, 8. What do you rate it?
Well, you didn't let me answer the question. I wanted more accolades coming my way, but no, this was one of the better ones I would say overall from start to finish. Definitely a lot of things moving and kind of game changing through this episode.
Yeah, I would say it's like a 7.5, 8, only because there's room to grow. And it was a lot of setup. Like it was setting up a new way to bring people into the authority. It was setting up the fact that you got to open your mind and say, oh wow, there's not that many more episodes left, or competitions left. So I thought it was 7.5 as being, kind of sounds low, but it's actually saying it was a damn good episode. I like who's left. I think in any great reality competition show, you have to have high stakes, and it's always easy when you're nominating to the arena people you don't like. It's crushing when people that you do like have to go home. Last episode was Cyrus. This episode we'll talk about it. So the stakes were high. The stakes are high, and it was pretty good. A lot of character, even from people that I don't typically enjoy. I know
Yeah.
you.
I'm just saying, like the change of the game. It's almost like in the game of Survivor. It's almost like the merge time, or the second half of the season. And so through the episode, we kind of see the changing of how the little tweaks of the game will make you change as a player.
Um, yes, and also it's to be expected. That's the one thing that you told me about you as a viewer. You were like, "Yep, I pretty much kind of expected this. You can't have, a six-person authority for too long." So these are the things that make our show great because we are kind of different. We are brothers, but we're different in personality. So these are the things Richard thinks about, diehard sports fan. I You can't pay me to watch sports for the most part. So we hope that we do another random recap a lot of justice. But before we start the show, Richard, I should I guess gloat for a little bit and say that on randomlyronniejr.com we actually do have an interview with Cyrus. So if you loved him on Challenge All Stars 1 and 3 and know that he's probably going to come back and want to know more of the backstory on Real World Boston and what he thinks of Sean Duffy, and some real serious stuff too, and some fun stuff, and his weight loss and his fiance and everything. We talked about it all. It was supposed to be a 20-minute interview, and Cyrus gave me 90s nostalgia. So if you're into that, just go to the website randomlyronniejr.com and continue to explore. So that's the first of many challenge real world cast members that we'll talk to. Sound good?
Good. I mean, it must have been a hell of an interview. I can't wait to listen to it.
It was a good plug, right? I was like, I did enjoy. Okay, moving on. We're coming back into the house. Seeing somebody like Darrell so good leaving just means anyone could go at any time. So the energy around everybody is kind of I don't want to just always use the same sentence like strategy, 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 but it's whittling down. The best of the best are starting to be here at this point. But what a perfect song. Four Non-Blondes, What's Up? So, the What's Going On song, which I was telling you just recently how much I love that song when it was used in Netflix's Sense8. The Matrix-like series called Sense8 connected all of the 8 in the cluster to that song by the Four Non-Blondes, which is such a great song anyway. So I liked how we were starting the episode. The vibes were right. We've got Wes sort of thinking he's going to fill into the Darrell position, kind of make an alliance. This is typical Wes kind of just jumping into everything, but it does sort of set us up with this ongoing theme of the episode that Brad is alarmed. So Oh, just got a ding. Must mean we won an award. Just because we have we have Wes doing all these big actions. It's interesting to see somebody like his friend get alarmed at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming in, and I think Wes says he wants to try to fit into the Brad and Mark and take Darrell's role, But if we all know the challenge, Wes and Darrell play two totally different games, so he could never fill that Darrell role. But I mean, Wes always sees the game changing. Like even if he's on the bottom, he's always looking for that one spot. Like where can I get in? And he does have some friends in that little alliance, so it looks like he's trying to get into that little spot and try to gain some trust from them.
But at this point, he's doing all of this in the context of him not being successful really at all in the season.
Yeah, so far he hasn't done too much except a lot of talking and hasn't backed it up. But
Mm-hmm. Which
you
makes
know,
his confessionals hard for me to watch.
yeah, but they're there for a reason, and there's quite a few of them in this one, and he's even ran, with a bunch of confessionals in other episodes before this where he did terrible. But I guess they're putting him on, for that reason, for entertainment, for you to either love him or hate him.
He does redeem himself. We'll get to that later in the episode. But right now, I'm still cringeworthy when Wes has too long of a confessional, when he hypes himself a little too much. But, anyways, that's neither here nor there. As we were talking about the beginning of the episode and we both rated this, we were talking about how it's the halfway point. Like, you really start to feel it right now. You should feel it because, like Richard said, how could you do 6 authority members? That can't go on for too much longer. So we find out that the authority is now a top 2. I'm loving. I'm sorry. I'm interested to know what your reaction to this was. So what basically will happen is if you are the top 2 winners, you are the only authority. You will be picking not a loser because that's how it used to be. The loser would go in. You actually choose who goes in, but the catch is that person could choose who they want to go up against. So you wouldn't want to pick somebody who was your like let's say you hate the person, but that they're going to take out one of your alliance members. I think Kayla sort of mentioned something of that nature too. I kind of love everything about this though, Richard. I almost like it better than the six authority. I understand the 6 authority was important at the beginning of the season, but I'm loving this. What are your viewpoints?
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, I could kind of foresee this coming. You can't have 6 people in authority and all them being safe when you're dwindling in numbers. So you could kind of see something like this coming on, and they cut it down to 2, but the authority's pretty much doing the same thing of picking 2 people to go in. The only change is later when TJ says that now the last place person is not automatically thrown in. The person who gets thrown in gets to choose who they
Yeah,
want. Yeah,
big
and that
power
changes the
there.
game completely.
Changes the game. The 2 things I was going to ask you about, and are these things to look at or worry about or assess. So what I like about it is, again, you now no longer could be stacking your alliance, making sure you don't get the votes, because if somebody wants to be petty, they could bring you in just because. So there's that, take you right off your high horse. But then the other thing that was interesting to me is you had mentioned a couple episodes ago, we were talking about like, oh, what is that star really going to do? And I'm thinking, no, it might be something big, Rich. And you were like, I don't really know. They still were trying to fight for it. Every time you went to arena, you would earn the star of someone else. I think probably the top person has like 3 only. But when this change happened, it made me think, no, you don't necessarily win that much by going into the arena and getting a star, because now the new priority is to win, because that's the only chance that assures your safety. How did you react to all that?
Well, with the stars, we still don't know what they are and how much of an advantage it is or any of that. Like I told you before, I didn't think it would be too much, but maybe they're saving it for a bonus on the very last arena or our very last challenge before the final, because they're figuring all the stars are out there, because them giving you a person's stars that you beat, meaning they know how many stars there's going to be in at the end of the game. So maybe it's like, oh, 10 seconds bonus or something for each star that you have.
Mm. Well, I would always rationalize it like if I have to go in the arena, the best thing about it is I at least get a star, which is some kind of help down the road. But now if I'm playing the game, I'm doing exactly what TJ said, which was I am only trying to win. You know what I mean? Or make sure, like if I'm Kayla, I'm making sure Sylvia wins. That way somebody so strong and so close to me can make sure that they put in somebody who won't bring me in. But even that, nothing is
Well,
really guaranteed.
nothing's guaranteed now, so it's win or you're on the chopping block regardless. Because the only thing that helps you with one of your friends winning, maybe they'll put in someone that you're closer with, but they know that won't pick you to go in the arena. Like on the guys' side this week, we'll get into it. It's kind of like, oh, they didn't put the one person in. We'll get to it later, but because it seemed like, oh, he would pick that guy, and so they went with a different strategy of putting someone else in.
Yeah, game is completely changed. We loved it. I wanted to do one quick shout out, Richard, if you don't mind.
Shout
I
out.
wanted, I want, and I wanted to make a note that we will do our confessional person of the week. We've been doing that every week. It's been kind of a fun way to watch the show. You could kind of write in the comments too if somebody said something that was really interesting, or their delivery, their style, their personality, whatever it was. There were some good ones today, and so we will announce episode 5's person of the week as well for confessional. I did want to say my shout out though. It's so weird. The harder you work and the better you do at what you do, the more like you still want to be kick ass. And I want our podcast to be better than everybody's. And I think everyone else who does a Challenge All Stars podcast should try that same thing. Everybody wants to win. It's the challenge. You gotta act like your shit don't stink and you're the best. However, I wanted to shout out, Richard, all the people that are doing Challenge All Stars on Paramount Plus, the recaps, because there's tons of them, and I feel like oftentimes I'll watch some of them, and I can learn different things from each of them about this game specifically. Not necessarily broadcast, because I've done that for years, but everyone has a great perspective, and I found that like if you like the Challenge All Stars, you're willing to watch 1, 2, or 3 recaps an episode because everyone has a different perspective. So I think all the people that are doing it with us, not with us, but like also doing it. And I thank us for kicking ass and trying to bring a really good All Stars recap. I think we do a good job. If you want to support it, I do got to let you know, as usual, RandomlyRJr.com is the website, and patreon.com/RandomlyRonnieJr. If you want to, I hear all that noise coming over there, Richard. let's turn Richard's mic off for one moment. If you wanted to support the channel, that's maybe one really, really good way to do it. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. Richard, checking back in with you. Are you doing okay over there? Okay, it appears that we lost Richard to a degree. All right, well, I will keep going. All right, I will keep going, and then I'll check back in with Richard when he's available. Let's go to the next portion, which is sidetrack, muddy ring toss. It was like a muddy ring toss designed to show, it was the stars that you were going to try to all the hoops into the star like ring. And I just kind of assessed it as like a ring toss, but very muddy. And the competition itself was called Sidetrack. What did I think of the particular episode or that challenge? I liked it. Richard, did you enjoy that one?
Yeah. You get that? I think production just called me into a confessional right now.
Well, it was funny because the one thing I was plugging in that middle before we went from our thoughts of the authority and the new challenge was, hey, everyone, if you want to support us, support the Patreon, et cetera, it helps make our show. And boy, as soon as I said that, we had all kinds of technical difficulties. So I tell you, if you're listening and loving what we do, you better know that Richard's microphone damn near got cut off. So you better, throw in the $3.99 a month, damn it. Anyways, Yeah, or production's calling Richard for the next season. You never know. But
I,
yeah, what? Go ahead.
I might have gave up too many teasers or something earlier. I don't know. Production's yelling at me.
They're listening. Here we shout everyone out and show love, and they're on our ass. Did you like this challenge? It was very simple. It had that same context of allowing certain people to kind of dominate together. Like, we're all gonna do this and we're all gonna do that. I don't love that mentality, but it's the game.
Yeah, it definitely shows your cards. Um,
Oh,
so if you're
interesting.
trying to play that floating game or not let people know who you're with, it definitely is designed to show them so that everyone you could no longer hide. And this is a great time in the game to do it when you're switching things up in the middle of the game and it's like the second half. Like let's figure it out.
Okay. Because before now, yeah, that's right. You knew Sylvia was tied with Kayla, but you didn't really know. Now it's like, hey, look at if we're all going to eliminate each other to make Mark win, that means all of us are in alignment. And if I'm not in alignment, oh, I'm the target. And people like Yes had to discover that. I don't know who else is outside of that. Maybe MJ. You start to discover that real quick, which MJ already kind of knew that anyway. Um, okay, so as the show goes, we're going to talk more about Mark and being the winner beforehand as we go. So we could just put a pin in it, but we can tell you that Mark, of course, wins by way of the strategy, I suppose. A sentence that I thought was kind of funny from Wes. He said, well, it was a stupid sentence actually. He says, "Oh, I thought you were the beacon of fairness." He's so cheesy. He was basically saying, "Why is Yes going after Wes's 5 stars?" Well, I mean, listen, if you're over there playing all the strategy and rubbing all the elbows and doing all the things to advance and enhance your game, and it's just like, you annoy me. Why wouldn't I try to outdo you and get all 5 stars on your name before all 5 of you could do it? What an impressive accomplishment that would have been if Yes would have done that. However, Veronica in the challenge in the confessional goes, Yes, he's great. He's not good at strategy though. And then I think she went on to talk about how Wes is so shady. So we've got totally polar opposite gameplay for the two of them. But I thought he was so silly when he said, "Oh, I thought you were the beacon of fairness." I would have been like, "Shut up! I'm getting all 5 stars on your on your to knock you out." But it never happened, and what Yes is eliminated, and the guys win. Yeah, the guys win the way that they wanted to. Mark as their winner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely a game. If you have numbers, you definitely team up on people, get rid of them, and you can see who's working with who. And it worked out the way they wanted.
The ongoing theme, and we'll get to much more of it later. Brad does get close to winning. It's always weird when the team comes up with a game plan and then something happens that could kind of almost erase that game plan. But we'll put that on ice for now. The only thing I didn't like about the challenge is when you are that dominant and show your cards, like you said. I didn't think I needed to see Mark walking slowly during the challenge. Like you say, you're showing the cards, but like, wasn't that sort of interesting sportsmanship, Rich?
You could say that, or you could say it was great for TV, and he had some good confessional moments at that time.
Yeah. And then he's the godfather, so you can't really knock him because you're like, honestly, he's the oldest one there. Let me see you do the challenge at that age. So I guess I should chill.
And he could kick both of our asses, probably.
With the blindfolded, yeah. So it just was funny. He was walking, and I just feel like if I wasn't in, I'm not a person who ever needs to be in the mix. I don't have the fear of missing out a lot. I don't have the like, oh, I need to be with the in crowd. But I would have felt a little devastated. I'm one of the non-in people with this. I guess alliance. Brad and Nehemiah and Wes and Mark and I guess Derek. I would have felt a little out, because the only two people outside of that was Yes and MJ, right? Those are the only two guys left.
Yeah, and MJ got the sabotage on him, so he already had one extra ring on him.
I'm loving this season, MJ. I never thought I would say that. And this season, he's starting to build a little fire because you're not going to give him too many more sabotages before he's gonna I know he plays for his daughters and wants to have a stand up game, but you're not going to do this too much to MJ. I don't know. You're just not. Okay. Also, Sylvia ends up winning. Okay, which is interesting. That's sort of that same thing where the girls work together.
And
Um,
they even kind of announce it like, "Oh, Treehouse!" Like even in front of everyone. So
well,
there's
who's
no
well,
shame in their game.
yeah, the alternative is Beth getting mad, and it's like it's really not that big of a deal. So yeah, they owned it. They might as well. I was shocked that we heard an En Vogue song. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, for me, um, listening to the music and certain songs kind of catch me off guard. So we had a little En Vogue in there, very '90s nostalgia, of course. Um, selected into the arena chooses who is going to be going up against the person, as we stated earlier. So we'll talk about how that's going to work. Anyways, as I mentioned, Mark, Sylvia, I think when we were watching this, and I think universally everybody said, oh my god, the game is really about to change, because TJ mentioned it before they started playing, but after the announcement of who won and what's going to happen, and you got to do two sabotages next, it's like you start to see it in motion, and I really felt a shift. I felt like I was watching episode 5. I felt like we're in it now. This is that exciting time for a viewer or a recapper or a contestant, because you're like kind of invested now in who's going to win, and these moves now could be big moves. This is what scares me about me doing a show like this, Richard, like Big Brother or Survivor, is you got to be extra sharp right here, and you've been working your ass off for 5 different weeks, 5 episodes, but you got to really sharpen your tools and be prepared, don't you think?
Um, yeah, I mean, you always want to be on top of your game. You're in all these type of games. You always want to try to see what's going to happen, who's working with whom before the game changes. So if it does change, who you can kind of go to, where the cracks are and everything. And that's the hardest part of the game. Who's just giving you like the time of day just to do it, and who actually does have your back or not.
You won't know that sometimes till you watch it back on TV.
And see the confessionals because
um,
sometimes those are the best part.
yeah, yeah. Kayla's doing great at the confessionals, I will say. But we go into this party, and or not party, but their weekly hangout or whatever. But usually that hangout is something that's really fun and exciting. Specifically this week, you got Robin S. "Show Me Love," one of the best songs ever, 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 ever. And it's funny because I thought it was going to be such a hype moment. Maybe some silly drinking. These are a lot of these contestants, cast members are now parents, and they don't really get to have as much fun maybe that they used to, back when they used to do the challenge. So I kind of expected a lot of letting loose and getting excited and getting hype. You didn't see that. And yes, in his confessional, he's like, oh yeah, there was a DJ and there's like drinks and all these things, but no one was dancing because everyone was starting to get in strategy mode. So it's kind of taking over the house now. Before you'd have a little bit of gameplay, and then when they partied, they'd party and a couple conversations, but now it's right to it, because there's some serious stakes up for grabs at this moment. um Richard, I would never consider your favorite player Beth. I just wouldn't.
Oh, good old Beth. Can't
I
go
give her
wrong with Beth. You never know what she's going to say, but it's usually going to make waves through the house.
well, let's do a positive before we do a negative. The positive is she was part of inventing the wheel of reality TV, because she was on the second season. She was always vulnerable. She always put herself out there. And she is significantly older than a lot of contestants. She might be the closest to Mark's age. She might be older than Mark's age. Um, and there's a part of me that loves the ambition to continue to try. With that being said, I personally was not into the way she addressed the authority. She's talking to the authority. She starts off by just kind of, saying what she needs or what she wants to win or whatever, but then quickly turns on Janae and says, and it was weird because I didn't see her lips move. It was kind of one of those edit moments. So I don't know, like, was that another portion that they edited into the episode? I don't really know, but she backed it in the confessionals, and she accuses MJ, specifically Janae, for cheating with MJ. What the heck did you think about that? That to me has to be a below the belt. Um, you can't do that. You can't do that.
No, I mean you could call a person dirty or I don't know, just every name in the book, geek, whatever you want to call 'em. But when you bring like personal stuff like that, that could ruin like at home stuff. It does seem a little under the belt type thing. So I mean, you don't want to mess with anyone's home life. Anything that happens on the challenge, go ahead, fair game type thing. But yeah, it's a Beth thing to do though. Like if anyone did it, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's Beth.
Do you think Janae should have been less mad because it was a Beth thing to do? It's typical her, or do you have to get mad because she keeps doing stuff like this? And it's important to kind of be like, you can't, because she would hate it too.
Yeah,
Beth has a husband and kids. Imagine that showed up on the show, and she's the one just getting the stirring the pot action against her. Those words are hard to get away from. Hard to get away from.
yeah, and I actually thought they played it pretty well of just being silent and quiet and staying away because I think Beth, she's just trying to start commotion and more and more. And if she wanted John A instead of one of the other girls in the arena, I mean, she definitely set that in motion if that's Beth's plan. But I wouldn't go through that much trouble bringing people's family into it just to try to get a certain person into the arena.
Moving on, we were watching Real World Homecoming as well, and there was a couple interesting Julie Jamie things. And again, once you when you do these shows in your 20s, that's one thing. But when you do these shows where kids are involved and kids are watching the show, and parents and wives and husbands, I don't, it doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't. So shame on her, I guess, for that situation. Moving on though, it does set the tone for MJ. And Richard, I didn't think I would ever be saying this. I'm loving MJ this season. I barely liked him on Philadelphia, and I haven't necessarily liked him on other challenges, the MTV flagship show, and even maybe last season. But
I
there's
think
something. Go ahead.
I think you liked him only a little bit more than the Austin cast.
No such luck. That Austin cast, boy, the most overrated that in MTV history. I'm sure. I'm sure of it. Um,
Sign him up. Bring him to homecoming. Team Austin. Go.
well, I just did an interview with Cyrus. So I should probably do an interview with some of the Austin cast members and get a different personality. You know, it is a game. It is a game. Things are edited in such a way, and the people are going really hard to try to win, and they're making a TV show too. So I could lighten up as well. But anyways, let's just go to the positive. I like the way MJ is playing, and so he's kind of got his back up against the wall. He's being sabotaged a bunch of times. When he talks to the authority, which is Sylvia and Mark, he, we don't know how it was said before. We just kind of get the edit that we get, but he sternly said, "If you do this, I'm doing this." Listen, Richard, I don't know gameplay like you, but I liked that.
Well, I think I got a. I don't think it was authority. I think it was Mark and Brad, or he's
Okay,
telling.
but it was Mark who is from the authority, so it did
Yeah, yeah.
matter.
Mark is from the authority. It wasn't Sylvia. It was the guys who were talking. But yeah, I don't know if that is he playing a bluff so he doesn't have to go in because they know Brad doesn't want to go in. Those are two heavy hitters that could definitely both win the game. Or does he see it as I'm not winning the game regardless if Brad's still in this game. So I need to get him out. And if he gets me, I get got. But if I get him, now I have an open path to the finale.
I think I get what you're saying. You do tend to think 10 steps ahead. Like Julie Chen always says in Big Brother. But I think it was more like his back was up against the wall, maybe some frustration, and it was like, this is what I can play with. I can't play with the fact that I don't have the power here. I can't play with the fact that I keep getting sabotaged. And even knowing that Mark got he won the next challenge, those two sabotages, one of them's probably going to land on MJ again. So when you don't have a lot to work with, you only can work with this whole I don't got nothing to lose mentality. So I thought that was just done really well. And all you need to do sometimes when it's weeks on end, they've been playing this game for a long time, they're away from their family, they're away from their normal routine. Just put that little shadow of, oh no, I'm taking your guy out. You put me in, I'm taking your guy out. I don't care what happens from there, but I'm taking him out. You might as well do that. I thought it was a great play.
And they had a conversation about it. They're like, is he just doing that? Or, and a lot of them think that he's just saying it's more of a bluff because he has been known to always choose a smaller guy, one of the weaker guys to try to go into elimination. So, like, if it's the one that's with your weight or height or something, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
He hardly goes up against another top guy that has like the mass and the weight that he does, even though he is a top athlete. But for the most part, he'll never call out like a Brad. But just saying that alone might get him out of it.
Yeah.
So it's you gotta say it's a good move.
I think it's a little of everything because a lot of easy way to vote someone out is who won last season, Janae and MJ, so they're a target. Who won the first season? Yes, he's a target. So and you're getting all these sabotages. You haven't been able to win on your own, so you don't have really the power. You got to go in your bag of tricks and see what will work. Admirably, Mark though does relay the message to Brad, to which Brad is a little discouraged, but he's also, what, and that's what I love about a lot of these contestants. They're like, let's play the game. They get mad about certain things, and it kind of sucks for them. But Brad had a good attitude too. The only thing is it didn't marinate too well with him because on the next day, he does call Wes and wakes him up, and it's the three of them. It's Brad, Mark, and Wes. I could talk about what went on, but do you want to describe how you seen it, Rich?
Yeah, it was. I guess it was Brad just mostly like after playing it in his game, and now that the rules have changed, where before it was always last place and then the authority who they throw in would go against each other. Now the power goes to the guy getting thrown in, so it changes the whole game in general. Where he's totally after MJ, but if they throw an MJ, now MJ has the power, which wasn't the way it was before, which we had just talked about. So Brad's now thinking like, why would we? Like, I want to be safe myself.
Yeah, and if it's a decision that's made between everyone, that's great. But when your group kind of just assesses that this person's going to win, and that's the only person safe in the situation, but yet you could have won, you maybe would have taken that shot. I don't know. I don't know if Brad was
Yeah, it
able to
was kind of
win.
on the fly, so I think that's how it kind of got through. Like, okay, blah blah blah, and like Brad, he's more of a guy that's willing to go in and stuff, but we wouldn't say he's the top strategist. And it probably just like you said, overnight it marinated, and when he kind of like, whoa, what happened? And so that's why he pulls Wes out and talks to him, and he tells Wes, he's like, dude, I've been putting my neck out on the line for you over time and time and time and all these, and you keep saying like, why is Brad doing that, Brad? And then,
I
well,
was like, you're right. I earlier in the episodes, I was like, well, God, Brad's over here saying, well, oh, well, we could do whatever Wes wants. I was a little like, make sure it's going both ways. So even though I made a little jokey joke about Brad earlier in the
it's
first
my man
couple,
Brad.
free Brad San Diego, yep. Even though I made a couple judgments of kind of how I felt like he was being ran over earlier in the season, I totally most improved player was him. To do something like that, to call out Wes and say, I need to make sure what I'm doing is reciprocated. I'll feel regretful if now we're making decisions where I always got your back and then you leave me in a position where something could end up this way. And even though when he said that, I initially was like, well, you didn't really know what was going to happen. You really didn't know that the rule was going to be the person getting thrown in will get to pick their player. So really, that's not a Wes thing. But I just love the way that they both communicated. Initially, Wes seemed a little dismissive. He seemed like he was like, well, I'm as easy to be a target as well. And then he kind of changed and shifted, and he has not won. He has not been a winner this season. The confessional will lead you to think he is, but he has not been a winner. So out of the clear blue sky, and this is what's great about setting the bar so low. And Wes has set the bar so low that he had to do next to nothing to
Team
be
Austin.
to be an admirable character enhanced good guy. It's so much, but I did enjoy it. I thought that was one of the best scenes. Here's somebody Brad, who I've not been thinking is making some great decisions or maybe making decisions on the basis of Wes. Here I got Wes, who we watched episode after episode after episode with confessional bullshit. And he's strong. I'm not saying he's not, but never really proving anything. And then him so simply saying, all right, I want to show you that I am that person to you. I guess one of them had been in each other's wedding or whatever. And Wes, out of the clear blue sky, says, I will go in if that makes you feel what you're trying to feel, what you need to feel. And I just had to put hashtag good character. Never did I think watching this show, Wes, good character, would be in the same.
There you go, Team Austin.
Oh gosh.
But
Oh,
yeah, and then Brad pretty much says, "You do this, like I got your back to the end, no matter what." And it, Wes mentions earlier in the episode, there's what 2, 3 more eliminations when he's trying to get in Darrell's seat. So like, if this gets Brad through one more week, and you're thinking there's 2 more weeks left or so, I mean, they're almost all to the end. So it's a very good move.
I don't know how the two challenges are produced. Meaning maybe they have to be quicker, faster on the flagship younger show. So there's not a lot of time for like really good heartwarming stories. And I've been very excited about the Challenge All Stars because over the course of these 3 seasons, we're able to see as much competitiveness, backstabbing, just all out needing to win, powerhouse athleticism, all the stuff. But we're also getting good character along the way. I remember the time where Leah was not able to compete really, and Ayana came back and sort of helped her along that one particular arena. And I don't know, I just like to see stuff like that. We had the one episode with Derek who lost his sister, and he lost, but then he was doing that for his sister and honoring his sister. Those are two different examples, but this kind of goes in that same example. Wes being such a bad guy, stepping up for his buddy Brad because he couldn't be trusted, and he had to prove it. And I liked it. I liked it, and I think that this series. I hope I don't sound too mushy. I think
A
that this
little
series.
bit, a little mushy, because I keep thinking, you mentioned Ayana. I was like, didn't she steal someone's salad? And I'm like, damn, I can't stop thinking about the salad.
She stole Jody's salad. Yes, yeah. And she goes, "I ate it, and it was good. It tasted good. It made me feel warm, like a man, like
did
with the company of a
did she
man."
even
Yeah,
lick her fingers?
yeah.
Once you
No,
said her
she.
name, I went off to the non. I was like, someone's salad.
I'm just saying, I love that this show gives us all of the challenge, tenacity. I think Jordan's always like, yeah, let's go, let's go. It gives you all of that, but it also gives you a little bit of character too, and some feel good vibes. Really, I don't know, I like it. Moving on, because we do have to move on. We're trying to keep our episode a little shorter here. Mark and Sylvia end up choosing Wes and Janae. Janae also kind of has, I hope I said it right. Janae. She schooled Beth with the name. No, but Janae was kind of saying that if it's going to go down the way it's going to go down, you choose me because I want to choose the person. And even just off like a power move, I totally felt that. So we have the arena. It's called Knockoff. You're 30 feet in the air. There's like these pegs that can be pushed in and out. So if one side is pushed across, it would sort of hit the other player or potentially hit the other player. So it's kind of a game of strength, kinda, but it's also a game of agility, I think is the way you and I described it. Um, I liked it. I like a game like this. It sort of does give everyone a chance. Doesn't mean you have to be the strongest, doesn't mean you have to be the best in stamina. It kind of just means you could be like Jordan last episode where you just, taunt the next person and just keep going. I really don't know. Um, did you have any opinions of this particular arena challenge?
No, I liked it as well, and I would differ a little bit. I think there is a little endurance and stamina into it, and a little gameplay, but yeah, you don't. It's not size based for the most part. As
Yeah.
long as you're kind of similar, it's not like something like we saw last week with Beth just using her more weight over Kendall.
And we
So
did, and
it's
you
more of
you
a fair game.
you stated that you thought, and it might have just been an illusion with camera, but yes, smaller in body type. What is about as tall as Wes, which was something you didn't necessarily know. Just a little shorter though.
Yeah, just a little bit, but closer in size than you would think going
Yeah,
in.
exactly. Okay, well, let's breeze through because unfortunately Janae kicks ass in this one. Beth, you say stuff about people's husbands and wives. it's hard to have sympathy for you. Sympathy that you're still doing these shows at age 50 something. And I do think Beth has a lot of redeeming qualities, but I was happy to see her go because of what she said. Kudos to Janae. The only interesting thing I will say, if I were to feel bad for Beth, is that I don't really like going up on a competition and literally every other person is screaming against me. That is a little bit hard.
All right, here goes my hate, since it's usually you hating on people. Boo hoo, Beth. Like, that happens in every challenge where the whole side is cheering for one side and the other person not. Like, get over it. It's always happens to you, so you should be used to it by now. And it's the same thing. If Beth is in a game she thinks she wins, she tries to talk her little shit. If it's something she thinks she can't win, she'll just quit. And this was something she didn't think she could win, so she quit.
This Beth rant was brought to you by RandomlyRJ.com, a pop culture podcast platform.
Find us Patreon.
You find the Patreon, Beth. Support us, even though we keep it real and teach you. No, that's great. Beth's great, and you're welcome to your opinions too. And yeah, it's time for her to go. That's just what it is. Okay. One good little moment.
See ya, you won't be missed.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was the
TJ
Arissa. It wasn't the TJ Arissa treatment. No.
No, not quite
See it never. No, it wasn't that. But a couple funny things is, when TJ gets so disappointed at Beth, it's like, Beth quits. He said that so loud. Beth quits. Like, just so stern. Beth quits. She's a quitter.
Straight quit.
And as a sassy comment, because she was mad, it was effortless the way Janae said, thank you for your stars.
Oh, that was a good line. It was definitely a good line. It wasn't loud. It was just like the right tone.
Yeah, and she had a lot of anger in there too, because who knows, going back to your house in 3 months or 1 month or whenever you go back, but 3 months from there, what is it going to take for your significant other to just think things? And it's just real bad.
You never know with editing and stuff as well that could even hype up something that wasn't even there. So
the part that was bad,
that's why you don't throw that stuff in.
The part,
and I don't even want to give too much like credit or kudos to.
I know that the producers keep egging you on to get that soundbite, but Beth's got to sometimes say, no, I'm not going to do it, because she still goes to the very edge. She goes, when she was still fighting and before she quit, she was saying, Janae's boyfriend is over there helping her. It's like, you gotta stop. Well, and that's Beth quits. She's done.
And that's our Beth for the season.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think? Okay, so then we got Wes versus Yes, who essentially is the exact same thing. Wes has Nehemiah doing cartwheels for him, coming up with silly, code words, Brad is, feeling like, so astonished that, the character that Wes had, because again, the bar is very low. So he's showing him love. Mark's showing him love. Probably Derek. I mean, everybody really. So
not your girl, Veronica.
Well, and that's the thing. So if Yes wanted to be a crybaby, he could have done the same thing. They were all against him, sorta. Even though they weren't against him, they were just for the other guy. And yes, I give him, because I liked him and wanting him to sort of win again would have been great. And I don't follow that, he has hypocrisy thing. I don't see that at all.
Well,
that's such
TJ
a projection.
Wasn't following Yes on this one. He called him.
Well, that was funny. Okay, you're talking about the intro. Well, what did you think of it?
They both laughed at it.
It was funny.
It was a joke.
It was funny, but the writing of him, as far as like, you're Mr. Ethics and integrity, but you're like trying to call hypocrisy. Most people who call hypocrisy are the people that are closer to being, the slime ball. So we've seen that time and time again. But you're right. It was funny.
It was a cheesy answer.
Yeah, you
here with integrity and blah blah blah. And TJ ain't having that.
Yeah, and Yes does have the permission as a person to be a solid player. Follow all those protocols. He's an activist in real life. He's an architect. He has all of these great things going on. But there are times where you're like, I want to kick his fucking ass,
And we saw all this come out.
Yeah.
During the challenge.
He was great in the challenge. I guess the first time I watched the episode, we watched it twice. I didn't have my subtitles on, so I didn't hear that he said hump the wall." So that was a good one. He was
Uh,
just
I mean,
oh,
if you could get a GIF of that, or just, that'd be
I
fantastic.
mean, maybe yes ended up not winning, but he may go viral, of something like that. Um, and this was such a good challenge that I think you and I said I'd like to see even the MTV version do this maybe because it was pretty good. Um, Ultimately, everyone is on Wes's side, and I kind of thought at first when I watched it, you sort of told me you disagreed that like yes, almost like he got knocked off, but it was kind of like almost like just a bad step or whatever. But as we rewatched it, you were saying no, he was starting to drag, and maybe to the point of what they said. A lot of people made an opinion saying it's because he was being too active up there. You know what I mean? He's pounding on the wall, he's talking, talking shit, and Wes was a little bit more like the silent, the
Yeah, I
silent
mean,
killer, like a snake, ready.
almost the most important thing in this game is keep your energy and don't let the person know where you're at. So if you're talking, I understand, like when you're in a challenge and elimination or something, say you're even at the gym, some people talk to themselves to like pump themselves up, like "come on" or "fuck this" or this or that, and you could hear, yes, even cursing
Mm.
out there, which you never hear. And maybe he was trying to pump himself up, but what he's doing is letting Wes know exactly where he's at
Wes
and
said that too.
giving
He
away
said
his
I could hear it.
position.
I can
Yeah,
hear where he's at. Exactly. One of it felt like he was trying to do a decoy where he was trying to like make it like he stepped away. I mean, you're up there a long time. You're trying different things. It just was. I guess yes. When he lost, he kind of stated, "I played the game the way I wanted to play. I didn't have no issues with nobody. I had good sportsmanship. This, that, and the other." So he went out probably upset he went out, but he got to hold his head high. But probably the biggest thing of that, unless you have any other comments about the challenge itself, is we always assess, everyone does this, but of course, me and Richard do this too. It's really about that salutation, it's about that goodbye. And when TJ says, "I'll see you never," that means Arissa's never coming back to the series, even if we like her. And I do like Arissa, but it's just not going to happen. Last week's episode, Cyrus, went home earlier than maybe he'd want to or anyone would want to. And TJ made sure he let him know how great of a player he was. In today's quote from TJ, it's something along the lines of one of my favorite humans to ever do the challenge. I mean, that is a huge, huge compliment. And to that, yes, just kind of, closed his hands together, said thank you, and kind of received it, and then moved on. So that means we may not get yes Challenge All Stars 4, but definitely going to be back, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever it is, similar to Cyrus. So that was great character, even by TJ, I thought.
yeah. I mean, he was even pretty much saying, in all of life, you're one of the best people, not just in the challenger or or in these games. But I mean, that's a huge compliment. And
Yeah, and to say
I
the
think a lot of people would agree that Yes is a really good guy, besides Wes.
but this is what makes this show great. When you go through things like that, who's to say next season they don't have a common interest, a common bond, they've earned each other's trust some way. I mean, a little like
Yeah,
Jordan and the West, a little. You go through your mess with people, but sometimes going through your mess does offer you a space of like, I respect the guy.
yeah, you earn some respect on Heads Up.
We talked about that off camera. Respect is such an interesting thing. It's one of the key ways to sort of get things done in life the way that you need them to go is you could find out real quickly who respects you because sometimes your words are able to have a conveying message, and then when they don't respect you, you see the challenge in that. So it was great. I personally would have loved to have Wes leave because that's such a like he's such a challenge all-star competitor, so it would have been great like left early, and then yes kind of continued to dominate, but it didn't go that way, but I was still invested in the show. um we're gonna finish here, Richard. If you have any last comments on the episode, before we'll do our confessional person of the episode and we'll move on.
No, I mean, just it's been one of the better ones, and you can see where the game's kind of heading. It's changing a little bit. What people are kind of on the kind of in charge, but with the new twist, anyone could get put up at any time if they don't win. So that's kind of exciting to see because you don't know who's going to get called in now. Where like before, it's like we could call in MJ every time, or we could call this person every time. Now it's like a little bit more of a strategy where we don't know, and that's how I like the games where you don't know who's going to go in.
And for us viewers and people podcasting and recapping this, it's a great time. We made it to the midway point. And listen, we're not doing the challenge or anything, but it does take work to do the show, to bring you an episode every week. We try to do it very um both myself and Richard, we take our own set of notes. Again, we're two different personalities. We bring that together, try to bring a great show. Um, to support it, of course, I do always say randomlyRonnieJr.com. Go to that because that's where you could see the Cyrus interview, Cyrus from Real World Boston, which was done today. And that was really great. Or patreon.com/randomlyRonnieJr if you want to support the channel in general, so we could get more interviews with Challenge All Stars, which is already in the works anyway, to be honest with you. But if you want to support, that makes the whole operation easier, even if it's helping out $3.99 a month or something, and or one-time donation. It helps Richard and I be able to buy a bag of popcorn. I mean, that's all we really want.
Yeah, what's that? Is that production again? I think they were calling me. No.
Anyways, who is your challenge confessional person of the week? I was closely gonna say I almost thought Richard. Ugh, it was going to
Wait,
be
so are you
Derek.
asking me? Or are you
I'm
are you saying yours now?
in true Ronnie fashion. I ask a question and I start answering. I've been doing it for years. You'll get used to it. Okay, go. I did it today to Cyrus's interview too. I was like, Cyrus, tell me about this because when I used to do this.
um, just because you are going there, I think the quote of the day goes to Derek.
Okay.
Um, just when they were getting ready for battle with Wes, and yes, this is what everyone wants to see, and all that. But my confessional of the week, I'm going
Wait,
with
but
Wes.
but
That
to be
was
clear,
not it.
what you were saying is, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we got this one who's doesn't necessarily get along with this one. They've been going at each other all season. It is challenge mania around here. To insert your, not even blindly,
It's
you did that.
brilliant.
It was brilliant. So come on, let's clap it up. Let's clap it up a little bit for
Wait,
Derek.
there you go, Derek. He gets my honorable mention. Anytime you can plug your podcast, go for it. And
Yes,
it made
exactly.
sense. It's not like he was trying to fit it in.
Not a
Like
stretch at all. Yeah.
yeah.
It really was a challenge mania. Yeah. Okay, so that was your honorable mention, which was the same with me. Who is your person for the week?
I gotta go with Wes from start to finish. And there's been a lot of times we've given him hard times, and he's been, flaunting his game that's been so bad. But for this episode, he not only talked the talk, he walked the walk, and then he did some things that he never does with Brad and all them, like even falling on the sword for someone else, which I rarely ever see. So um, he was just in confessionals nonstop throughout the whole episode, and it came out at the end like he knew even during the game. He's like, yeah, yes, you're being dumb by being loud and using energy. Like everything he said kind of came to fruition, and he had a great jump off the platform, which is not confessional, but still needs to be noted. A nice jump off after his win.
I could stand to have some of his confessional moments cut, but it's still there's not a lot of great narrators this season. There's not a Devin, there's not an Anissa. So, I guess he does have to be the one. Maybe when Johnny Bananas comes through, maybe things will change. We will see. But I can see him having a lot of great ones. Kayla had a couple good ones. I felt like she sort
Hmm.
of had a recycled joke when she talked to somebody and she was like, well, if you wanted to do that, you're just gonna have to win, which kind of has already been said before, but it's still Kayla's like setting it up, and she's pleasant in the confessionals, and she does story tell pretty well. So those were people that I kind of thought were close, but I'm gonna tell you that my favorite today, the one I'm voting for, is going through all the shit she went through, and after winning, for Janae to say, Thank you for your stars. That was my favorite. Put it on a t-shirt now. I'm going with Janae.
Okay. Well, once again, I think I'm right,
Which
but
means what?
because Janet was even in a confessional right there, and it wasn't even it was during your competition. However, it was
Oh,
maybe line of the day.
technically.
It was
Yeah.
line of the day with.
All right. We got to wrap up the show.
It
You're right. Actually, you are right. It was just done so well.
was
But
very, very good, very
it
good.
wasn't a confession. It was sassy. It was like, bitch, don't you ever talk about my family. Richard, any last words? Because we definitely got to wrap. We try to make our episodes within an hour. And again, big shout out to everybody. There's so many people that are doing Challenge All-Star recaps. Challenge All-Star, the USA, the CBS version that's coming. You'll probably see us in action recapping that as well. But there's a big community out there, and I'm really the type that's not trying to knock everyone that's doing it, because it is a little bit of a harder show to do. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of personality too, which is where I feel more connected to the show. Richard, however, feels more connected to the stats, the what you should be aligning with, or who you should be aligning with, and what's going to happen competitive wise. So we do the best that we can with our limited resources. So just saying thank you to everyone who make the Challenge All-Stars and Real World Homecoming a bigger and better experience than just watching it alone. So kudos to us all.
Yeah, production's calling. I gotta go.
Production's calling. Richard, how do I end the show? I love the Challenge All-Stars. I loved my interview with Cyrus. Check it out on randomlyRonnieJr.com. randomlyRonnieJr.com. Richard is an awesome co-host. I'm going to start giving him compliments at the beginning, because if I do that, which was the first day I've done it, he's very pleasant. So I'm going to start dressing it up a little bit more, because you were very pleasant today. But my favorite topic, Richard, is what?
Me? Does that count? What?
No. My favorite topic is
That's
myself.
close.
So let's get
Oh yeah.
through. Let's finish the show with a little Ronnie, and
Who
we'll see
loves
you
Ronnie more than Ronnie?
randomly, Ronnie Jr. We'll be back next week. Later.
Bye.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.